Hi, it's Jo here from Jo's Country Junction. Welcome to my sewing room. It's another Sew with Jo day. Let me think what I'm working on. I have like a bazillion different things I'm working on and a bazillion different ideas running through my head. The other day I was doing a little bit of cleaning and I found a file folder in my desk that was all full of quilting ideas of quilts that I wanted to someday make, or something that was inspiring, or something that I had designed on EQ that I wanted to make someday. Well, that has just gotten my brain just flooded and I want to go in so many different directions. There's squirrels everywhere going on, but before I can do any of those, I need to finish some of the projects that I'm currently working on. So currently I have, you can maybe see it, a sneak peek of it here. My Hawaiian sunset quilt is still on the long arm. I've been having a little bit of difficulty with it. The thread has been breaking when I've been using my long arm. I've tried pretty much everything. I've decided it's probably the thread. So I just have to like power through it and do what I can to get it finished, because I can't really change the thread at this point, because by the time I decided that it was probably the thread, I was probably a fourth of the way done with the quilt. And now I probably have, probably about a fourth of the way left to long arm on it. And it's just to the point that I just need to power through it. But I haven't done that because I just don't like the frustration of the constant thread breakage. So instead I've been at the sewing machine, which that can be good, but also it creates more things that are going to have to go on the long arm. So I think I had told you that I was doing a leader and ender project, and someone had sent me some brushed cotton charm squares. I'll grab it here quick. And I just sewed them together, and this is just done. It's just very simple, but it's really cozy. It's kind of like a lodge quilt, you know. It gives you the feeling that it should be like, I don't know, in a ski lodge or something, because it's really soft. The brushed cottons are great. I had the, as I was saying, a blog reader had sent that to me, and she had, I don't know, maybe 4 rows of 11 in each row sewn together, and she sent it to me. Well, I started sewing on it, and before long I realized why she gave up on the project. Brushed cottons are woven, so they can shift a little bit. Well, these were charm packs, so when they were laid down with the die cut to come down and cut them, the fabric shifted, and oftentimes the edge of the fabric was like a wonky curve like this, or a wonky curve like this, and it was kind of hard. I just guesstimated the best I could and sewed the pieces together, and it turned out okay. I'm gonna give it a good iron, and then once it gets to the long arm, I'll probably quilt it kind of densely to make sure that everything lays down and lays flat. But I think it'll be definitely a fine quilt in the end. It's just like that little struggle bus that I'm going on right now to get it all together and to get it long armed. But I think it'll be just fine. And then that one will be donated to probably a church function this fall. So I'm happy to have that one that close. But then that left me at an awkward spot that I didn't have a leader and ender project anymore. So I was digging through trying to find a leader and ender project, because I'm also finished with my broken dishes blocks and my star blocks, which I have tutorials for both of those, and I'll probably link them in the description box below. But I have those, all of the blocks are done that I have cut out. I have never calculated how many I need for the quilt, but I'm at like 256 of the star blocks, so I'm thinking that's got to be close to enough. And I just hit over 500 with the broken dishes blocks. I'm not sure that I'll have enough of those because they're just tiny. So I was in my stuff digging around looking to see if I had any more little leftover 1.5 inch squares that are 1.5 inch half square triangles, because I thought, well, I think I'm going to probably need more because they're just tiny. They're only about this big, and if I want to make a big queen size quilt, I'm going to need a lot. So as I was digging around, I found some leftovers, and let me grab them here. Whoops. Oh, one just fell in the garbage, of course, and I don't have that many blocks that I need to save. I need to save them. So I just threw them in this little bucket here, And these are leftover half square triangles, like this. And they are left over from the quilt I designed and that was in our quilt book. Our quilt book was called Country Girl Modern. And the quilt that these were from was Bohemian Rhapsody. I think that quilt was also published in another magazine. I can't remember which one. But anyway, those are all the leftover bonus triangles. And the book was published back in 2015, I think. Yeah, that sounds right. Back in 2015, so 10 years ago. So they've been in my drawer here since 2015. They actually came from the farmhouse we lived in and then they got moved here. So they've been ruminating long enough and it was time to do something with them. So I kind of took some, laid them out, spread them around, and then I put some together and decided that I kind of liked a zigzag pattern like this. So I sewed enough together so that I knew if I liked it or not and I was going to go with it. And so this is what I have and I am going to go with it. I have some more scraps of this fabric, so we'll see how big it gets or what I do with it because I can always cut more pieces. But for now I'm just going to work with the half square triangles I have. So that's ruminating in my brain too. So as I said, I've got a ton of stuff going on in the sewing room. I'm going to toss that back there. And on top of that, the thing I'm going to sew with you today, that I'm coming to the last thing around finally, is that I did the Kathleen Tracy mystery. Well, I don't know if it's a mystery, but it's just a quilt along, but we didn't know what we were going to make until the end. And I made all of these blocks. And I did the last clue or the last block, and that's these churn dash blocks. I did them in all sorts of different colors, you can see here. There's even more different ways, but they're all churn dash blocks. They're in a variety, and all of the blocks that I made had blue and gold in them, except the first blocks I made. Though they had a center that was blue and gold, but then I had used other fabrics to go around them. And then as I was seeing other people finish their projects, I didn't really like the look of that block with the other blocks. So I took off the colored and then I put like just white around the outside. This one is a little bit darker and busier, but so then I just changed them up. Originally we were only supposed to make 4 blocks of each, but you know me, and nothing can be as small as it's supposed to be, so I make everything a little bit bigger. So I think we're only supposed to have 20 blocks, and I have 36, I believe, is what I think I counted up. So originally the finished quilt is supposed to be done in rows, so it was just like all of the churn dash blocks in this row, all of the I think it's candy blocks in this row, all of the, you know, this type of blocks in that row. And for me, it just didn't quite seem appealing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's the way somebody did their quilt, that's great. But for me, I just kind of wanted something different. So I decided I was just going to cut some sashing, which I did, and some cornerstones, which I did. And I'm just going to sew the blocks together using sashing and cornerstones. And that's what I was planning on doing with you today as we visit and chat and I sew, and we'll see what we get done. I'm hoping I could get at least like maybe 2 rows done so I can start to get an idea of what it's going to look like and if I like it or not. Who knows? I'm not very good at taking time to sit down at EQ and putting all the blocks in and doing all that to see if that's what I'm like. I just kind of wing it. And that's kind of been my theme in life. I just wing things when I'm not sure if I know what I want to do. A lot of people ask me if I lay everything out before I sew the blocks together, and typically I do not. I just reach in, grab a block, and start sewing, and that's probably what I'm going to do today. So we'll see how it looks in the end. Usually what I do when I do that method is I just pick up the blocks, put the sashing in, sew the row together, and then when I have the rows together, then I kind of flip-flop them around to see what looks nice. But I don't lay individual blocks out. I may lay individual rows out. And so that's that question answered too. The reason that I ever even decided on the blue and the gold, that these two colors, the blue and the gold, is because I had something laying out on my countertop here that I sew on, and it was some leftover orphan blocks, and I ended up sewing them together into this. And I'm going to eventually probably finish this. This is just a simple table topper, but that was laying on the island here that I sew on, and I thought, well, I haven't done anything in blue and gold for a while, so that's how blue and gold happened. Not that that's a favorite color combo for me or something that I, have a certain room in that colors. It was laying here, and I thought, oh, blue and gold is nice, and so I ended up deciding to make my Kathleen Tracy quilt of the same colors. So with that, something else I was going to tell you is when I was I had decided on sashing for these guys, and I decided that I probably needed a white, probably a Civil War print, because most of these are all Civil War prints. And I went digging in my stash, and I couldn't find any. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to town and buy fabric. I have a whole room of fabric. I just do not need to buy any more fabric. Was there something that I could make work? So I looked and looked and looked and looked and didn't find anything. And then I keep my Civil War fabric in drawers underneath my long arm. And sometimes the drawer gets full. And when the drawer gets full, I can't fit any more in the drawer. And so sometimes I set some fabric on top of the drawers. And so this fabric that I ended up finding was on top of the drawers. And it just so happens that it's cream with blue and gold. And it's like, it was the perfect thing. If I went to town, I wouldn't have been able to probably find it, but I ended up finding it here in my sewing room, and it was sent to me by a blog reader. I don't know who, but I'd like to thank that person for sending it to me, because I'm using it in this quilt, and I really think it's going to be the absolute perfect fabric for it, and I couldn't have got it any better. I was a little bit nervous because it came in like 3 different chunks, all were about 1/4 of a yard, and I thought, I think I can get the sashing out of that, but we'll see when it comes to border time if I want to do some more of it in the border or what I want to do. Yeah, I don't know if there'll be enough for that, but we'll see. I really appreciate when people send me their cast-offs that they don't want anymore. I've had several people send me Civil War prints because they're not making any Civil War quilts anymore, so they, or reproduction fabrics, I guess is what we're supposed to call them nowadays. So I'm okay and very thankful when people do, because reproduction fabrics are still top 10 to me. So, okay, I might as well get sewing. I'm happy to be sewing today. I'm gonna be leaving here after a bit. I have to do errands, and my daughter's going to town, and she said, hey Mom, do you want to ride with? And I said yes. We live pretty rural in northeast Iowa, so anytime we go anywhere, it takes about a half an hour to get to whatever, 20 minutes to half an hour to get to any town that has a store where you can buy lunch. So from where we live, it would be like a half an hour to a Walmart or a bigger grocery store. So quite often, my daughter and I ride together just because it saves gas, and then it's a great time to visit in the car. Okay. As you can see, there's really no rhyme or reason why I'm picking some, because sometimes I pick a turn dash block, sometimes I don't. Right now my main goal is just to kind of mix them up and have a little bit of everything here ready to go into the quilt. Let me see, how many do I have? My rows are going to be, the quilt will be 6 by 6 in the end, so I'm kind of going for 6 blocks in a row. I can't cut right today. Okay, and then typically what I do is I'll grab a block like this, and then they all have had one piece of sashing put onto them, and then I just start sewing them together. I would like to say I'm super disciplined and I put all of them through the machine first, but I am not super disciplined and I do not put them all through the machine first. So I'll just start sewing rows together and then I'll stop and count. That's just, I'm not real picky about any of that. I'm just actually kind of a goof as far as that kind of stuff goes. And I know there is the beautiful ways that Bonnie Hunter can like web a quilt together. I've never really done that. It looks lovely. It looks like a great idea, but in my brain it's just too organized. And I am not very organized. So you can see that I sewed 2 of them together and then I just put a couple other pieces together. I'm not very disciplined about sticking with the same method or mode. I know I have extra churn dash blocks, so I should probably be putting more churn dash blocks in to each row than any other type of block. One of these sounds good. So Iowa weather here has been up and down like it is in a typical summer. One day last week, or one day this week, it snowed in the afternoon, and by bedtime we probably had, maybe half an inch, well, probably closer to an inch of snow because the ground was pretty covered. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and it was storming and raining and there was even thunder, so that kind of surprised me. And I woke up in the morning and all of the snow was gone. And then it was cold in the morning and damp, and then by afternoon I was out with a friend of mine and we were out walking because the weather turned around that quick, which was very nice. Okay, it's going to be a little bit tricky getting a good layout with these because, as you can see, here I have 4 of them together. Some of them have like a yellow background. Some of them don't, have a cream, and this one's a mixture of both of them. This one has blue. It's going to be a very eclectic looking quilt. And I'm kind of excited. Well, I am excited about it, not even kind of. But I'm eager to see what it's going to look like, and that's why I'm probably jumping the gun a little here and sewing rows together rather than being disciplined and just putting an edge on all of the blocks. I probably need to do more of those churn dash blocks to get more of those into the mix. I've had a great response to coming back and doing videos again. I appreciate everybody's kind comments and words of encouragement. It's been really nice. I just am so blown away from the time that I quit doing videos and went to my full-time job to now when I'm back to doing some videos again. It's just been an overwhelmingly wonderful response. I've been trying to be good about answering comments when I can and replying to them. It takes quite a while because, there'll be quite a few comments and, I'll sit down and then I'll say, oh, there's comments from a previous video, and then I'll go back and start on them. And I enjoy it though. and it keeps me busy, and it's a good kind of busy. I know to some people this method of not really carrying and not laying things out probably would drive them nuts. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so here I have a row, and they're all together. So that would be 6 of them together. I think this is going to be a cute little quilt. Not very big, but that's okay. Probably I'll use it as a table topper. I'll see if I have a good spot for a table topper. Okay, I'm kind of starting my second row now. Again, I'm going to add some more side pieces to more of these. I don't know, there's something I think about gold and like a gold cheddar color and blue, a navy, that, and then adding that cream in there, it just really makes the quilt look crisp, I think. You'll have to leave me a comment and let me know if sewing this way without laying anything out, if that would drive you nuts or not. I've sewn in my life. I've sewn a lot with my daughter Kelly, and this kind of drives her nuts. She also doesn't lay a quilt out though, but she's a little bit more organized, and she would go through and put a strip on each side of everything. She even thought of sewing them together, and that's okay. I'm just so thankful that there's a way that everybody can sew and do what they like without having the pressure of having to do it somebody's way or pleasing somebody. I might tell you this is how I do it, but I would never discourage you from doing it the way you're doing it if it works for you that way, because that's just silly. There's many ways. When I was in my life, when I was doing, I used to be a in-home childcare provider, and along with that I used to teach classes to other childcare providers, and one of the classes that I taught was called Many Right Ways. And in the class, we were supposed to, one of the activities we did is we were supposed to go around and we were supposed to hand this baby around, and everybody in the class was supposed to show a way that they hold a baby. Well, you know, one person would put the baby up on their shoulder. One people would do like a football carry. Some people would hold it like a baby like this. Some people would have the baby on one hip. Some people would have the baby on the other hip. Some people would have the baby against with their back against them, with the baby facing outwards. And at the end of the activity, one of our goals was for the people who are participating in the class to learn that there's many right ways to do the same thing. And that's the way it is with quilting. There are many right ways, and you still get a great finished product in the end. And I'd like to really encourage you to test different ways, try your own ways, and find the way that works best for you. Because if you find something that's best for you and you're most comfortable with, you're most likely to sew and quilt more. But like if you're stressed out because somebody uses this applique method, but somebody else uses this applique method, and you're kind of stuck in between going, I don't know which applique method to use, then it discourages you from even trying at all. So I highly encourage you to listen to designers, to go to classes and do things. But when you get home and you're in your own sewing room, you know, practice a few of them and decide what works best for you. So if you like a design wall and that's your cup of tea, go for it. But if you're like me and don't really care and don't really have a good spot for a design wall and have had enough experience, because this has happened to me lots of times, I would have something up on a design wall and I would have the two pieces together. I would run them through my machine and realize that I somehow twisted them in between walking from the wall and sewing them with my machine. So I got so frustrated anyway. So that's another reason why I decided I just didn't want a design wall. So design walls aren't for me. Sometimes I use the floor. Sometimes I just drape things across my long arm, and that works once they're in rows. But you just have to keep trying and do whatever method that you find out works best for you. And so I highly, highly encourage you to not take anybody's word as gospel. And there's just, I don't know, there's the old saying, not that I want to skin a cat, but that there's many ways to skin a cat. My dad used to always say that. And so I just want to encourage you to find your method and find what works best for you and go for it. So back to my sewing. I got off my soapbox. So here I am still, well, looks like I started another row without even really knowing that I already had. So I've got 3 in this row, and I've got 3 in this row. So sometimes I might like go like this and lay it down and see if I did that there, and if I did that here, then would that look pretty good? Nope, there'd be 2 fabrics that were right by each other. So then I might move it down here, and if I did that one here and I did this one over here, I got to turn that. Okay, how would that look? Well, that looks pretty good. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to actually sew the 3 and the 3 together, and then I'll have 6. But I don't have a sashing piece between them. One thing I love about sashing pieces, and if you're kind of debating on a design for a quilt, if you put sashing pieces in, you don't have to match seams when you butt block to block. And so I often use sashing. My least favorite of all is sewing on point quilts. Oh. Sounds like a piece of paper just fell. Okay, I'm going to put this down. Sew that together. Okay. I'm kind of counting how many pieces of each I have left here as I'm pulling pieces and deciding which ones to use and not use. So that one's in. Okay, now I gotta remember which direction this went. Nope, it goes this way. Okay, so now I have 2 strips sewn, and this is what I have for this little mini quilt. So far, I'm really liking it, and I'm excited about it. See, and this is where things that would drive my daughter Kelly nuts. Right now, I am so tempted to just sew a piece of sashing this way, the narrow piece that would go in between the 2 rows, and sew that together so I can see what it looks like. It is so tempting, but I'm going to persevere. I'm going to leave that alone for now. I'm going to continue sewing my rows together. Oh, I'm looking down here and admiring this while I'm talking it. Oh my goodness, I really think I'm gonna like this. It's so cute. The blocks are just 3.5 by 3.5 inches. They're just darling. So I better just keep sewing and not stop and go for the. I was a little worried when I ended up making so many turn dash blocks, because proportionately there's a lot more turn dash blocks than there are other blocks. But it's looking okay. I got 3 turn dash blocks in one row, and I have only 1 in the next row. So that's doing okay. I can make that work. I am trying to mix up a little bit. So I have some blocks that are solid background. I'm not putting so many solid ones together. I'm kind of trying to put a lighter, breezier one like this in between them. So, and not that I have to or anything like that. I just kind of mentally, when I pick pieces up and just trying to decide what to do or what to sew together next, I kind of have that in my brain. Okay. I think I need to grab a couple more turn dash blocks, because remember, those are the ones I need to use up. I think sometimes some of the way that I do it where I don't really use a design wall sometimes makes it more fun, and I do a lot of like planning and organizing just right here on my table. Okay, let's see what we have going on here. Okay, I have one row started. Looks like I should probably do a dark turn dash black, I think, right here. That'll be good, I think. Yep. Okay. This has been a fun project to work on. If you want to make a quilt like this, you can go on Facebook, follow Kathleen Tracy Quilts, or Kathleen Tracy. If you type in Kathleen Tracy and you put quilt behind it, it'll come up. And then if you go across the top, it says files. And in the file section, you can get each of the 5 clues. And then you can get the directions for all of them. And then you could make a quilt for yourself. Who knows, maybe you'll like to do the blue and gold theme like I did. Oh, it's just so pretty. It's just really rich looking. I am top 10 happy about it. Okay. I could use one of these, I think. I was kind of unsure how the, let me see if I can find one of them. Okay. Oh, here. It's on here. How this block would go when I have the 4-patch, how this block right here would go, because I have the 4-patch in the center, and then I just kind of framed that with other pieces. I was kind of unsure how that would look in the quilt, but I'm finding that I think it's okay. I think it just kind of lightens things up and makes it look a little bit more eclectic, and I kind of like the eclectic look. And if you notice, I didn't do the same on all 4 sides. These 2 sides are the same, and then the top and bottom are the same. Isn't it looking fun? I love this stage in a quilt, when you can just start seeing it come together and how it's looking. This was all completely just scraps from my scrap collection. I keep my scraps in a scrap user system that I learned about from Bonnie Hunter, and you can go to her Quiltville website and you can learn about how she uses her scrap user system. So basically, in general, after you're done cutting out a quilt and you just have a little bit left over, she suggests just cutting it into strips and then keeping the strips in buckets by size. I had sewn for years and years and years and years and years, and I just had these big buckets of scraps that I wasn't using at all, because who wants to go, if you're going to make a quilt, dump out this whole giant bucket, have to sort through all of it and then clean it all up. That just was not working for me. So when she suggested this, I thought, okay, I'll try it. And I have completely and totally fallen in love with it, because I use it all of the time. If I'm going to make a quilt, the first thing I do is go to my scraps, and let's say the quilt like this one used a lot of 1.5-inch strips. So I just went into my 1.5-inch bucket and I pulled out everything that was navy, everything that was gold, and everything that was like the cream or shirting or neutral color. And then I started from there, and then I used up those in the first couple blocks that I made, and then I realized I need a little bit more variety. Well, then I went to my fat quarters and I started cutting just a little bit off the fat quarters, and then that was the basis for the start of my quilt. And then when I was all done, I had a few of the fat quarters that I cut something off of, and the fat quarters were, you know, just down to about this much. So I stripped those up and threw them back into the 1.5-inch scrap bucket. So my scrap bucket keeps getting new scraps put into it, and it keeps getting scraps taken out of it. It is the most used type of fabric in my entire sewing room. I mean, I don't use the fat quarters very often. I rarely use yardage, especially now that quilts don't really have borders on as much like they used to. That, you know, the trend is to not put as many borders on quilts. So I just make more blocks, and that works well. I don't know. I just really feel good and comfortable with that way of using my scraps, because before I wasn't using them. And I know a lot of people don't use that, and that's okay, because they have different ways, and some people just don't even like scraps at all. I know that for sure, because I have a lot of people that just go, oh, I have this bucket of scraps and I don't use scraps, so I'm just wondering if you want them, and then they send them to me. And me, I love it. So I'll be your scrap girl anytime. Okay, I'm starting to kind of lay this one out to see how things are gonna go. Okay, I don't like it there. I don't like it that way. I don't like it that way. So I'm not finding a good way that I really like this. Let me see if I put it this way. Yeah, I think that would be okay. So I'm doing this because I'm trying to figure out what block to put where next. And so I think I'm just going to put one of these, because it's kind of a not. So that's how I kind of like lay out quilts. If I was doing a large quilt, I would be probably laying the strips over the long arm, and then I'd balance and judge the strips that way, because then I'd know where I might want them. Okay. Using the thing I have to be most careful about is the churn dash blocks with the dark background. I'm trying to not get them too close to each other. Okay. Yeah, I think, oh shoot, I don't like that. And I think it'll be better once I get the blocks. Okay. Once I get the blocks, get the other sashing between them. Okay. This one, I'm not exactly sure where that one's going to go, and I'm not going to worry about it for now, because I've got 3 rows sewn. I have to sew 3 other rows, so one of the rows I sew is going to fit in there lovely, and I'm not going to worry about it because it will work. I know it. And anywhere where I would put it at this point, it's not like it's bad. It's just not my very favorite first pick, and that's okay. Okay, let's get some more of these sewn. Now I kind of sometimes start to get antsy, and now I'll probably sew the side strip on most of these. And then work from there. This has been a really fun little project. It's been a long time since I've I don't know, made something small, something kind of quick, something with little pieces. I know a lot of people don't like sewing with little pieces, but little pieces make me happy because they're just so cute. And I'm starting to think while I was sewing these, I'm thinking, where are you going to even put this in your house? And so I don't even know about that. And that's okay, because recently I've started listing a few things on my blog, and my blog is joescountryjunction.com. And some of my blog readers have been buying some of my finished projects. So that has been nice, because right now I still have a lot of grandkids. I have 10 grandkids, and the oldest one is going to be 10 in July, and the youngest one is 2.5. So they still make a lot of mess. They still, like, if I would have a table topper out on the coffee table or something like that, it turns out that my coffee table is actually an old wooden chest, and in the wooden chest are all the like blankets and pillows that the kids use for napping if they're here, or the blankets that they use for like when they snuggle up and watch TV. So I know anything I put on that box is just going to be thrown and tossed everywhere, and then pretty soon this will be drug around and be a doll blanket. And not that I necessarily mind that, but at the same token, I don't want it to get just ruined and juice and everything else spilled all over it. So I kind of don't even put stuff like that out because I don't want to get disappointed or mad if it gets ruined. So sometimes it's easier just to not even have it out. But otherwise, if I was going to have it out, it might go there. And the tables that I have are rectangular, so they're not the best place to put a square table topper. But we'll see. Okay, I have quite a few yellow, so I should probably get some of these yellow ones used up that have yellow backgrounds. Because I have a whole stack here that have yellow backgrounds. I should probably get more of those used up. Okay. Maybe this one? Yeah, that'll be fine. I wish I would have done more with a blue background. Oh, I'm just seeing this last one that I sewed. I forgot to put a sashing strip on it. So I'll do that. Because I'm putting the sashing around the outer edge of the blocks too. Because I need that on this piece as well. And for now, I'm just going to not worry about the placement. Sometimes after I get the rows sewn together and I lay it out and I realize I don't like the placement very well, I might do something like this. I might come through here and I might rip this off right here and then flip it around and add it to this end instead. And that's a quick way that I can, if the blocks didn't line up very well, that's a quick way to get them to line up better, or so that they look better. But now I need to really get some of these yellow background ones used up because I have quite a few of them left. Okay. Yep, I used one in that row. Okay, so that's another row done. Now I have 4 rows done. I should only have 2 left to do. Okay, and after this I'll start doing the sashing that goes the other direction. And then I'll sew the sashing rows to these rows that I'm stitching right now. Okay. When I sew stuff like this, my brain just goes everywhere because I'm like, oh, do I like that? Do I not like that? Should that go here? Should that go there? Oh, I don't want that kind of black here. Yeah, I'm kind of silly that way. And sometimes I add to one end and sometimes I add to the other end. There's really not a good rhyme or reason to it. So you'll have to leave a comment and let me know if sewing a quilt together like this would drive you nuts or if you would be just fine with it. I would love to know. One thing fun about these small quilts is even though there was a lot of piecing in them, once you get to this point, they sew together pretty quickly. Oops. Okay, what do we have now? I have 5 together so far. Looking like this. I had kind of run out of some print, so I went through and dug around and found this striped yellow to go in this one. So I need to add one more block. I already have quite a bit of yellow in that block, so I'm going to add it here, I think. That'll be fine. And I've got to add a sashing piece to that, and then I'll be going through. I have 2 more blocks left, and they'll go on to this one, and then I'll have all of those together. I'm pretty excited. Okay, and sometimes I do this. So let me take this off. Once my row gets this long, so it has 5 on the row and I have 1 more block to sew onto it, sometimes I just take this and I twist this around and I feed it into the so I sew on one end and then sew on the other end. And this one still needs a sashing piece on the side. This one need a sashing piece? Nope, this one has it. Okay, so there's another one done, and then this one's done too. So I am going to take and I'm going to throw something in as my leader and ender, which is that the pieces from my Bohemian Rhapsody quilt that were left over that I told you about in the beginning of the segment. And okay, with that I have my 6th row done. So let's see how many I can hold up and show you. Okay, there's 2. I wonder if I can get a 3rd one over there. Okay. So I guess I can hold about 5 of them up so you can get an idea what they're all looking like. Yeah, I'm really liking this. Well, with that, it's looking like it's time for me to go. Remember I said that I had to meet my daughter, and we're going to go get groceries and do a couple other things. I have cross-stitch pieces at the frame shop, and I'm going to go there and pick them up. Oh, I'm so excited for that. So I'll probably tell you about that in a floss tube video, because I plan on starting to do some filming of floss tube videos again too. I'm excited about that. Yeah, so I've got a good day ahead planned with family and some more sewing time once I get back from town, and I'll probably have my daughter put a picture in here of what the quilt top looks like when it's finished. Either that, or we'll use that as the cover photo of the video, and so you can see it there. So thanks for being here and hanging out with me for a little bit, and it was good to chat with you. Please leave a comment. I'll answer any questions I can there. Otherwise, you can always go over to my blog and leave a comment on any blog post, and my blog again is joescountryjunction.com. Thanks so much. Bye.